Okay, so we should be, yep, okay, cool. There we go. So, I currently do not know where my um, partner in podcast is. I've not heard from him today. Um, I gave him till typically our latest starting point. I don't know where he is. So, I'm just going to do it by myself. If he happens to show up, we'll just wing it. But I'm going to attempt to be somewhat consistent with doing this. So, here we go. I wanted to talk about a couple things before we started the episode. One of which being the new show that was announced, that being the Acolyte. I am uncertain, obviously, with the way Star Wars is and Disney and all of this stuff of late. Everything you have to be hesitant of because that's just typically the unfortunate truth of it. But I thought it looked good. The sets and everything I thought looked really good. The Wookiee Jedi I thought was a cool touch. Apparently he's being played by the same guy who played Chewie in the sequels, so that's cool. One thing I'm hesitant about is like the kind of Asian Oriental samurai theming that visually is typically not directly represented in Star Wars. So I hope that it still feels Star Wars-y to me. But obviously we're just going to have to wait and see on that department. But overall, I thought it looked really good. But apparently there's a bunch of backlash online. I think it's got more dislikes than likes. I'm sure some of it has to do with representation and diversity and all of the nonsense that the internet gets really, really bent out of shape about. There was nothing glaringly wrong. I could say that maybe what they're portraying to be the acolyte isn't all that intimidating looking, but then there's the scenes where she has like her face covered or it's kind of cool. She got like the hood on and stuff. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistically interested in the acolyte, and it's coming out earlier than I would have expected it to come out, so that's cool. And then the other thing, I've seen a lot of stuff come out about the potential for a clone show focused on Rex and gang following the Bad Batch finishing. And I didn't really think about that being a thing, but that could be a potential real option. I don't think they'll not use the Clone Wars animation for some large amount of stuff going forward just because they put so much effort into it. But I wouldn't have guessed another full show, maybe not so soon. But it does make sense, and it's something that I think would be a no-brainer. It'd be very successful, I think, for them if you follow Rex and Gregor and Wolf and their kind of clone rebellion. You get to fully tell the story from start to finish of the clones. I think it'd be good. But, you know, Star Wars news is always met with a lot of negative, more so than positive these days. So, but that's kind of all I have to touch on before we get into this episode. I'll do the same thing, even though I'm just here by myself. That's all right. Okay, it's zeroed out. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Mostly, I've also seen some stuff about people being almost disinterested in the Bad Batch's story, which is interesting. I've almost gotten more interested over the seasons, so I thought the first season was good. The second season was 50-50. Well, I'd like 70-30. It's pretty good. This season I've really enjoyed so far. Cool. I love the pit droids. And I guess the bounty is Ventress or something. Yeah, let's say I misjudged that guess. It's pretty cool looking, actually. Neat. It's like those little surfboard things people ride around on. It's pretty cool. Still crazy to me every episode of this show and this art style that we've watched, how much almost better the art style looks. It's pretty cool. Really a big fan of how Finnick is talking, because it almost sounds like she's talking to them, like right next to them, but in reality, she's like far away from them. An unlikely relationship, but I enjoy it. Alligators. Star Wars alligators. I mean, they did just. I mean, they just disarmed all the mines, so she didn't get in the water, so she literally couldn't be where they are without them. They're tracking a praying mantis guy. It's interesting. I feel like it'd have the most impact if they kill Wrecker this season and then leave Crosshair and Hunter, considering they've been the most at odds. Um, I just don't think they have it in them to kill Wrecker. I think if anybody dies, if they don't all die, either they all die, or I feel like somebody has to die. Crosshair would be the obvious one, but I think Wrecker would be a little more impactful, especially with how much his guilt of letting Omega get taken the first time is kind of on his mind. It's so gross. I don't know why I didn't expect it to speak English. That's gross. Hmm. maybe that's of interest. Okay. It's just, I cannot get over how good the show looks. Like that bayou kind of sunset vibe on this kind of orange tone planet. It looks so good. Honestly, I wouldn't have thought it, kind of going into it, but oddly, the kind of the thing that I'm almost disappointed about the show ending as of right this second is the ending of Omega's story, because she's gone from being kind of 50-50, maybe a little annoying, to like being actually kind of interesting and becoming her own character. And this arc that she is on with Crosshair, I think it's really interesting. And because she's a little bit more malleable, all of the stuff that she's seen and all the places she's going, she's a little more likely to absorb it and interact with it, which I think is interesting. So, again, maybe all of that will be kind of resolved by the end of the season. But as of right now, I'm like invested, I guess, in that aspect. This like weird shake weight looking thing, I thought it was kind of funny. It's kind of a cool space station. I don't know, it might be blanking. I don't know if we've seen it before. It reminds me of that Glavis ring world from The Mandalorian for some reason. It's nothing alike, but that's what it made me think of for some reason. It's kind of similar to, I think in SWTOR there's a place called like Nowhere. Obviously in Guardians of the Galaxy too, but I think there was a space station. Might have been called Port. No, I don't remember. But it's like a smuggler's den, kind of just like this in the Star Wars: The Old Republic. But I'd say this was kind of a standard affair, kind of side mission. I wouldn't call it a filler episode necessarily, but kind of a side episode, a lesser episode as far as the story goes. And I think we get another 2-episode release soonish. April 3rd, we'll get a 2-episode release. So we have today, so next week is a single, and then we have a double release. So next week will probably set up potentially something big, and then we'll get a big 2-parter. But we are halfway, a little less than halfway through the season. I don't know. So far, I've really enjoyed this season. I know some people are kind of tired of the Bad Batch. There's something about that Clone Wars art style, though, that I'll never get tired of. I don't know if this is nostalgia or what you want to call it, but that's where we're at. So, it looks like my connection stuff was a whole lot better this week around. I'm going to lower this a smidge more. I streamed all of Enshrouded at 18 to 20 and didn't really have any issues. But it's like my output is not limiting to what I'm putting it to. So it's going above that, and that's where my issues are coming from. So I'll lower this a little bit more, and hopefully next week I'll have no problems. But we'll see. Should be back to the standard affair next week. But until then, there's all I got for this one. I appreciate all of you guys being here. You stop by if you want to join with us. Would love to have y'all's conversation. But we will see you next week.